Do you fret about sharpening your hand tools? Do you worry about an accumulative error that you are inducing on your precious hand tools? Well, don't fret. In this video, I will show you how to sharpen your hand tools and especially your hand planes. That's a hammer. Hand planes. Repeatedly. So every time you pick up your hand tools, they will be razor sharp, crazy sharp, taking whispers of shavings every single time. Well, it's not difficult. And I'm going to show you how I do it with my precious hand planes. And in this instance, we're going to be sharpening this Stanley Bailey number 7. And it has a Victor hand-forged plane irons and the Clifton chip breakers. You see, when you invest in good quality gear, you want to look after it, don't you? But also, if you've got a budget tool, like a footprint or something like that, if you perform this very simple technique I'm going to show you, a system, well, you too are going to have crazy sharp plane irons. So I'm going to put you down here, that I am, and we're going to sharpen this plane iron using this system that I use. And it is so easy. It makes life so easy to repeat the results every single time. And as you can see, here is my Stanley Bailey number 7 hand plane, for which I've pimped up with new tote, as you can see, and a new knob. Oh, it feels so good. Yes, a new knob. Good for my carpal tunnel, you see, syndrome. So, anyway, without further ado, we're going to remove the plane iron from this hand plane. I'll place the bits and pieces down here. And there is the culprit, plane iron, which we need to sharpen. I will put my plane over here, out of the way. Alright, we don't want to be tripping over that, do we? Anyway, I've got a system here that I use, which is 1, 2, 3 stones. We have a coarse stone, which happens to be an oil stone. These could be diamond stones. You can set up in the same way with diamond stones if you want. Which you'd have probably, I'd say, well, this one's an 800 grit. This one here is a 2000 grit. And this one over here is, oh dear, it's a water stone. So it's not actually in the box. It's in water, soaking over here. Well, we'll leave that in there for a moment. We're not at that stage yet. We are going to first set up our plane iron with these stones. Now, I have created a carriage system. Yes, a carriage system. Everybody needs a carriage system. So, we don't have to, but this is the way I do it. Now, on this particular one, that's not the right one. Right? They're all different for different hand planes and tools. Now, I've decided, I used to do this, you see, on all my chisels and that as well, but I decided, well, I want to keep these stones in top quality condition for the wider plane irons. Whereas if you're using this system, or any system, chisels, which tend to be narrow, you can potentially, over time, create unevenness in your stones. I want to keep them perfectly flat. Okay. First of all, we need to set up our plane iron in this carriage. Can you get the gist here? No, it's so simple. Now you're going to think, so okay then, if this here is set to 28 degrees, okay, well, wouldn't that be 28 degrees? So if you say, on this stone, it goes to 25, so 20, it's 28 degrees, and then it's 28 degrees on that one, and then there's on here 20 degrees. But you can adjust these heights, you see, of these stones, make them higher or lower, to change the angle of the plane iron with this system. If you want to go a bit finer, you can. Well, I don't. So I'm going to stick with what we've got. So we have our plane iron, which happens to be in its chip breaker. And these are Clifton chip breakers. Let's remove that from the chip breaker. Now I've been doing a bit of freehand sharpening on this one, which isn't a good idea. I know a lot of people do it, but that's when you get your cumulative error. If you see here, I've actually been using the system on there, and it's perfectly flat, it's good, on the primary bevel, but then you can see all this craziness that's going on the back here. And that's what happens when you freehand sharpen. And that's especially if you've got problems with your hands, which I have. I suffer with carpal tunnel syndrome. So using a system like this, if you've got room for it, as you see, it's quite a large thing. It doesn't have to be as big as this, obviously. But if you've got a room for a system like this, it's worth doing. If you haven't, you can just do it with one stone and flip the stone over. So you have a reversible stone Yeah, then it's just one carriage, one stone. So but it's just how I've chosen to do it. So what we're going to do is we're going to place this into the carriage. And how I do it, I just push it down so it touches the actual stone itself, and I do it up like so. But I want to set the angle of this, and I want that at 28 degrees. To do that, I'll use my digital angle finder. Worthwhile having. You don't have to have one of them. You could use, something like that. Now, in the past, I've made my own versions of this. Basically, if it's the primary bevel, I'd have it at 25 degrees, and then my micro bevel, I would set at 28 degrees, 26 to 28 degrees. But with this, you see, all I've got to do is now put that on there, and it'll tell me the angle. As you can see, it's at 30 odd degrees. Well, we don't want that, do we? So we're going to change that angle by pushing the blade out. As you can see, it's reducing it, and reducing it, until I get to the angle that I want, which is 28. I might go a little bit more than that. 28, 20, yeah, but 28 degrees. There we go. 28 degrees. And then I tighten that up. I might change it when I tighten it up a little bit. Nope, that's good. Just remove that. It's set to 28 degrees. Now, these are quite, well, not quite, they are very good quality plane irons. These are the Victor hand-forged plane irons. Definitely worth the upgrade. So you see what I'm going to do is I'm going to move that back and forth like that. Before I do that, I need to lubricate the stone. You've got to lube your tool, Got to lube your tool. So we put a bit of oil on there, like so. Let's move this out of the way. And this is the coarse stone. You've already ground up your plane iron, so I'm not one but the primary grind. I'm just doing the micro bevel, the secondary sharpening. I'll try and use all the stone if you can, even though this one doesn't let me. I tend to flip the stone around, that's what I normally do. So back and forwards, try and do a figure of eight if you like. Some people just go like that, some people just go backwards and forwards, don't really matter, providing you maintain good contact with the stone. But you do want to try and use all the stone if you can, otherwise you'll create a hollow in your stone, especially on the softer stones, because obviously it becomes more important. I've got a rag over here, so I can just check my effort. It's looking good. A bit more. And then we'll move on to the next stone. And you basically keep doing this until you're satisfied that you've done the job. Like I say, this I'm pretty sure, I can't remember exactly what it was. I think it's 800, I've got written down somewhere. This is an 800 grit. So it's quite a coarse grit. Still relatively fine to be fair, but it's quite coarse. It's the coarsest one here. That's good. Checking on the back here, quite happy. Now, generally I flatten the back of the plane iron as well, which we're going to do in a moment. After I've done a little bit of work on there with the coarse. I call it coarse, but not be funny. A lot of people don't even sharpen an 800. So thousands, is quite common. But most dual stone, where you got the coarse on one side and fine on the other, they're usually around 400 to 600. Sometimes they get into 300, which are relatively coarse. It's not very fine at all. All right, I'm quite satisfied with that. And then I'm going to lay this flat on like so. You only can't see it properly, but I'm just doing the back of the actual plane iron, just to take any burrs and make sure I've got a reasonable edge there. So I'm taking away any burrs off the back edge and also any roughness. And the resin that builds up on the back of your plane iron as well, just cleans it all off. Cut more straight that way. And now we're going to move on to the stone here, which is about 2000 grit. Quite fine. Like I say, what you can do here, you could have a really coarse one here, which does your primary grind. You can then go on to a finer stone. You can have more than 3 stones if you want. And you can set one up, a coarse one for your primary grind. And then obviously then you're going to your fine sharpening. And fine for sharpening, and then on to your secondary bevel, and then the super fine, the 2000 grit. Now, you see some people, when they're sharpening, they go down to 12,000 grit, but sometimes 16,000 grit on diamond sharpeners. Well, really just honing it really, isn't it? For most people, that's not necessary. Most of us, you just plane a piece of wood. We don't all need to have super fine edges, do we? Alright. Don't do what I just did, I just scraped it off there. What you'll do is actually lift it off. So you're pulling it away from the plane, pull the plane iron off the stone. That's good. I can feel there's a burr there now, which is good. Which we will get rid of in a moment. I'm going to use this leather strop here. This is actually a piece of old harness from a like an oxen harness. That's good. Then now what we're going to do is we're going to move on to the water stone, which has to be over here. Well, it's not at the moment because it's actually in its water. I've already flattened it. I flattened it using a diamond stone that I have. I literally just put a diamond stone on the flat, move it backwards and forwards on the water. You don't have to use a water stone, you know. But I've got one, so I do. It's very, very, very fine. The problem with water stones is that they do take. Let's see a bit better. If you can see it, can you see the edge of that? You can. The problem with water stones, they're so soft. You know, you don't look after them, they'll just end up turning to like a scratched mess. Right, like so. You don't get so much of a burr on these plane irons because they're so hard. So you're not folding the steel over. Cheap plane irons, you quite often get burr in a really poor wire edge, which you have to remove. But these are such quality plane irons, you don't get much of a wire edge on them at all. Okay. I start to get a bit of a burr. I can feel it. You know, cause when you finger over the back of the blade, you'll feel the burr. And now I'm going to remove the plane iron from the carriage. Using this water stone, I'm actually going to gently place the plane iron onto the water stone, backwards and forwards onto the water stone, like so. There's no point going onto these ones. All I'll do is I'll just scratch the back of the plane iron on that edge. And I just undo all the work. I'll just undo all the work I've just done. It's got suction there. Got suction. Water on there. Hand work on there. So the bulk of the work has been done using the carriage with the plane iron set at the same angle, and every time it will be put into the carriage at the same place. And there's another technique I can show you later on in another video on how to get repeated results. Now I showed you in the past where I use my hand to strop with. Put the right ones on! Is that shrunk? Or is that the wrong ones? No. Oh, giddy out. Oh, mark them, don't I? That's what I should do, I should mark them. Now I showed you in the past where I tend to do this when I strop my plane irons. I don't necessarily say it, mate. I don't necessarily think that you should be doing this, because unless you've got a bit of experience with it, you're likely to cut yourself quite badly. Now, the plane iron, I could probably do a bit more work, to be fair, but, you know, for the purpose of the video. Yeah, shaving. And taking the skin off at the same time. See, that's coming off there. The one I've got bald hands. So yeah, it shaves. A bit closer, you can see. A bit better. But no hair on my body layer, will there? Really sharp. No, I'm not scraping my skin. It's just literally shaving as though I'm shaving my face. You see the all the hair on the back of the plane iron there. Right, now if you do it at home without doing it with your hands, piece of leather like so. Now, some people soak it in water and what have you, or just put water on it, or yeah, I actually use water. I like to use a tiny amount of white spirit. The reason why I tend to do that for is it releases some of the abrasive paste that's already in it, brings it to the surface, and it also lubricates. It sounds a bit crazy, I know, but that's just how I do it. I do about 20 strokes on each side of the plane iron, like so. And then I flip it over, do another 20 on the other side, or, you know, do 5 and 5, and 5 and 5 again, and 5 and 5 again, until you get 20 on each side. And you see with what the actual white spirit's done, it is literally brought the old abrasive to the top. It's a very fine abrasive in these pastes, ideal for honing that final stage. I'm running out of space. Yeah. Yeah. Yuck. I look like a werewolf. Yeah, that's shaving alright. That's good. Ugh. Yeah, lovely. So, if you want repeatable results, build yourself on these carriage systems. Don't have to be as big as this. You'll find it'll make life a darn sight easier when you're sharpening your plane irons. God, that's good. So that's ready to go back into the hand plane. And if not, if for instance you got a plane iron that you already sharpened, or maybe that one there for instance, and you've got a series of plane irons all ready to go, because I've done that before, so I can just pick, swap them over. Stick a bit of tape on the end, right, so you don't cut yourself. You're storing your plane irons, and also it protects your plane iron as well. This is a cheap Chinese plane iron that we sharpened the other day, and it is ridiculously sharp. And it's the same thickness as the Victor hand forged plane irons, 3mm thick, very similar to, like I say, for the Victor. And it's pretty hard steel, quite surprised. Anyway, that's how I sharpen my Stanley Bailey number 7 hand plane. And what's that doing on there? That was random, wasn't it? I think I removed that. It's a wet. Oh crikey! Yeah, if you get your hand plane wet because you've been messing about, not concentrating on what you're doing, make sure you wipe the water off if it's a diamond stone with water on it. Otherwise, next time you put this back, you'll trap that under the hand plane and it'll just rust. And you'll be very annoyed with yourself that you will. So anyway, that's my system over there that I use for sharpening my Stanley Bailey hand planes, and I get repeatable results. Crazy sharp as well. Now, I know some people say, oh, I just sharpen by hand. That's fine. That's fine for you. Do it. But anyone who sharpens by hand will get an accumulative error, because nobody's that blooming good. They really aren't. Although I've done it myself a million times before. That's probably why I don't do it so much now. And also I suffer with carpal tunnel syndrome, so I find it harder to maintain the angle. You might not. Anyway, whatever suits, I suppose. Do what's right for you. Toodaloo!